Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Rich T Racing. Now in today's video what we're going to be doing is doing another F1 chat, much like the one I did about Lewis Hamilton. Is he overrated? And today we're going to be looking at another driver, not on Lewis Hamilton's level. We're of course looking at Lance Stroll, and more specifically answering the question, how bad is Lance Stroll? Now, before I start, just to point out, when I say the word bad, what I mean is by Formula One standard, not is he a bad racing driver, because quite clearly, if you make it into Formula One, no matter how much money you have, more on that later, no matter how much money you have to have a certain level of talent. For example, if my dad was a billionaire, he couldn't just go to a Formula One team and say, I couldn't just go, Dad, can I race in Formula One? Yes, I've got loads of money, I'll give it to them. I have no talent. I have no talent. There's no way I'd make it into Formula One, no matter how rich my parents were. So I'm not saying Lance Stroll is a bad racing driver, but by Formula One standards, is he a bad driver, or how bad is he? The way I've done this, I've got my lovely little document up. I've got 3 sections. We've got not bad at all, bad, and very bad indeed. But we shall start with the not bad at all section, because there have been, over the past 2.5 years, there have been some signs that Lance Stroll is actually quite a good racing driver, and that is most evidently shown in the wet. Now, as I said in the Lewis Hamilton video, the best drivers are judged on their ability in the wet. Now, if you look at the wet weather affected races we've had since Lance Stroll came into Formula 1, there haven't been many, but if you look at Italy 2017, Germany 2019 and Hungary 2018, Italy 2017, he put that car in 4th place, which became second on the grid. Fantastic qualifier. You watch that, you think, where's he pulled that from? Felipe Massa was down in 9th. Felipe Massa, who, I'll come on to it later, who destroyed Lance Stroll in 2017. But it was Lance Stroll who put it second on the grid. You would surely have expected Felipe Massa to be the one to do that. You then look at Hungary 2018, that Williams, which was, let's face it, pretty poor. Not as poor as this year's, but still not a very good car at all. Finished last 7 points. He got that into Q2, and it was just in that Q2 session, the weather was went from intermediate to wet very quick, and he just got caught out, and that's why he started 14th. I think he could have put that car 11th, maybe. I don't think Q3, but close, but higher than 14th at the very least. And then obviously we look at Germany 2019. He had a fantastic race, finishing in 4th. He was 3rd for a very good while, and if he had just been able to hold off Daniel Kvyat, he could have been on podium again. So he's clearly shown he's got something in the wet. And I talk about race results, talk about how he got that 4th place. You have to then look at his race results based on his qualifying. Now, in that German race, he qualified 15th and finished 4th, climbing 9. God, you can tell I'm a language student. Climbing 11 places. In Canada, for example, he finished 17th and climbed 8 places, finishing in 9th. So you can quite clearly see, again, I will come on to this in a bit, but his qualifying results are pretty poor, but then he's able to make the best of that and finish quite high up. You also look at the way he can conserve tyres. When they put him onto the hard tyres in France, he was able to get up into the points and stay there for a good while until he had to come in to do his pit stop. So it's shown that his race results can be very good, or he can work towards a very good race result. Another very good point as well is that in Formula 3, he completely destroyed George Russell. He won that championship by a country mile, well over 100 points from his teammate Maximilian Günther. Although there is a little bit of contention around there. I don't know, because in the research I've done for this, it didn't crop up, but there have been reports, because Lance Stroll owned the Prema team that he was racing for, there have been reports that Günther was ordered to move out of the way of Lance Stroll. Now, I don't know. If you do know more about that, do let me know in the comments, and that will then perhaps remove that slightly from the not bad at all list. I know that's Formula 3, but still shows that BT's, so George, actually no, it is Formula 1, because George Russell's now on the grid, considered one of the most rising up-and-coming talents in Formula 1, and Lance Stroll destroyed him. So, but again, take that with a slight pinch of salt, but as far as the results go, Lance Stroll destroyed George Russell, and that is no mean feat. That's the not bad at all bit. We now come on to the bad bit. And it's quite a nice little progression, really, because I talked about his F3 season. That was 2016. We then come on to 2017, his rookie season. And yeah, his rookie season just wasn't very good. I mean, yes, I know he got a podium. He put it second on the grid in Italy. But apart from that, the start of his season was just shocking. I think from Australia through to Monaco, I think there were a few races where I think maybe Russia and maybe Spain where he didn't spin or have a crash of any description. In every other race, he had a crash. Watching his onboards for Australia, I remember it at the time. It looked terrifying. It looked scary. The way he'd lunge in on braking, and I think it was actually later on in the season, his braking is what caused problems in Brazil and in Abu Dhabi, and it was just scary to see. It was not a good rookie season for Lance Stroll, despite him he scored 40 points, and despite the fact that, again, he got on the podium, got a second place at Italy, was not a good season for him. I'll come on to that a bit more in a bit. But again, what that rookie season also showed was his communication. Lance Stroll, one thing that a Formula One driver needs to have is feedback ability. In Jenson Button's autobiography, it's a fantastic book. I can't recommend it highly enough if you're a fan of racing. He mentions how at the start of his career, he just relied on the engineers making the car and letting his talent get him there. But he soon realised that it wasn't just that, and then he learned how to set up a car. Now, obviously, we're at the same stage for Lance Stroll in terms of if we're comparing him to Jenson Button, but the way, particularly in that rookie season, the way he would communicate, give feedback was just diabolical. And then, so 2000 maybe not as much was expected, but now we were in 2017 where F1 drivers are held to a much higher standard. They are expected to effectively be engineers in their own right. When Lance Stroll had a tyre blowout in Brazil, his response was, "I don't know, man. There's something wrong with the tyre. I don't know." Like, don't say "I don't know" over the team radio of an F1 team. That is so shoddy. So shoddy. Now, we haven't seen as much of that since, and I'm sure he has improved, but still, like, you come into a rookie season and you just sort of expect everything to be done for you and expect not to know how it's done. No, sorry. I'm not letting him off that one. There's another thing so coming on to team radio, his attitude can sometimes be just really hateful, really hateful, particularly Monaco 2018. When I think there were problems, he had contact, something went wrong with the pit stop, and he was lapped by the entire field within the first 10 laps at least. I can't quite remember. I don't have the stats to hand, but I think him and Sergei Sorokin were lapped by the entire field very quickly, and it led Lance Stroll to basically have the reaction of, "Oh, what's the point of racing? Like, why are we even doing this? What are we even doing here? You're racing at Monaco in a Formula One car, okay? You're racing at Monaco in a Formula One car. Do you know how many times I have dreamed of that? And I'm just one person in the racing community. There are 45,000 people who are in the Motorsport UK family. How many of them have dreamt of racing a Formula One car around Monaco? I guarantee all of them. All of them will at some point thought, "Oh, I'd love to give that a go." 45,000 people, and you're racing around Monaco and moaning and complaining and bitching. Again, that's over a year ago, but I am not letting him get away with that. That shows the sort of person he was coming into Formula One in his second season, where he should have matured. He had not matured. Okay, so I'm getting a bit heated here, but even so, it was a while ago. He has improved. Again, we'll come on to 2019 in a bit, but it's also his press conferences, particularly in 2017 and 2018. He had this air of arrogance about him that was completely unjustified. All great sportsmen are arrogant. Lewis Hamilton is arrogant, but it's justified. He's got 5 world titles, soon to be 6, and he's got 81 Grand Prix victories and 87 pole positions. His arrogance is justified. Anthony Joshua, one of the greatest British boxers of the current era, has a right to be arrogant. Lance Stroll did not have any right to be arrogant, apart from the fact that he knew that he was going to be in Formula One for the foreseeable future. We'll come on to that later. I saw there was a news article in 2018 where he said that Felipe Massa didn't help him in the slightest in his improvement. How can that not be a thing? Massa himself came out and said that I'm surprised by that. I thought I did. And then the way he sort of treated Williams after he's left, the team that gave him that shot in Formula One at 2019 in the 2019 pre-season test, he was given an interview, and how you feel. I think the question was, how are you feeling right now? And he says, yeah, I'm feeling good, much better than last year, and I'm pretty glad I'm not there anymore. That's so disrespectful. That is so disrespectful. Like, you can't do that. You just can't do that as a professional sportsman. You can't do that. End of. So bad attitude as well. And you might be thinking, well, hang on, what has this got to do with racing? There is more to being a Formula One driver than pure racing. And you can say then, okay, but your Lewis Hamilton video was only focused on racing. That's the only bit I wanted to focus on in that bit. This is what I'm looking more at the big picture. So that's why I'm talking about this other stuff. But then coming back into the racing, the bad part, I'm only putting this in bad because, as I said earlier, he then goes on to do better in races. But his qualifying pace it's ridiculous. Like, I'll come on to his versus his teammate in a bit, but in all 3 seasons, he had 3 different teammates. He has been beaten in qualifying by all of them, even by Sergei Sirotkin, who obviously had a very ill-fated one season in Formula One and just was just a footnote of that season. But even so, he still beat Lance Stroll in qualifying over the season. So it's just phenomenal that he's just that bad. Sometimes he can be 0.5 of a second slower than his teammate. That is an astronomical difference, and it's just not good enough, and it still isn't good enough. And that brings me into the very bad indeed part of this. What has gone from concise analysis to effectively a rant. Lance Stroll's rate of improvement is disgustingly bad. It is ridiculous. I talk about qualifying. Now, in qualifying in 2017, I'm also going to, a part of this rate of improvement, this is where I'm going to talk about more about comparing him with his teammates. Qualifying in 2017, it was 17-2 in favour of Massa. 17-2. That's ridiculous. Okay, you would think rookie season, he can be forgiven that. We cut forward 2 years to 2019. Sergio Perez has already won the inter-team battle. How? He is 12-0 up. There is no way Lance Stroll can catch that back up. I would go so far as to say that I don't think Lance Stroll will outqualify Sergio Perez at all this year. He only just brought his run of Q1 eliminations to an end in Germany, whereas Perez would be able to get it just about close to Q3, if not just getting inside. So Lance Stroll was be down in the bottom 5. Just shows that rate of improvement from 2017 to 2019. There has been no rate of improvement in his racecraft. You also look, he scored 40 points in 2017. His total for his career is 64. And so therefore he's scored half of his points in 2 seasons at 1 race. That's not good. I know the 2018 Williams was not a very good car, but even so, the Racing Point this year has shown itself to be a fairly decent car, and he's still just managed the odd points appearance. Okay, yes, one was 4th, but still, that's 40 points in 1 season to 24 over 2. That's not very good. We'll see. I know that 2019 is still underway, but it's just not where you would expect him to be. You'd expect him to be challenging Sergio Perez at this point. And that's where I think one of the biggest arguments in favour of Lance Stroll being a truly bad F1 driver is you just see how he's being destroyed by his teammates, by Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez is a very good driver, but he's not brilliant. He's not a top level driver in my opinion. And he is still destroying Lance Stroll in terms of qualifying. Yes, Lance Stroll has got more points, but that was by 1 result. I don't have the facts to hand, but I'm fairly certain Sergio Perez has finished in the points more than Lance Stroll. And I guarantee by the end of this season, Sergio Perez will have more points than Lance Stroll. So that's that bit. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is obviously the big point, and that is the fact that Lance Stroll is only in F1 because of his dad. That is a fact. Now, you can argue that most paid drivers only get to Formula One because of money. This is nothing new. Lance Stroll is something new. He is more than just a pay driver, because not only is his dad funding his F1 career, his dad owns an F1 team. That means that because I think he's the majority stake shareholder in the Racing Point team, that means that if the Racing Point were to say, we don't want Lance anymore, Lance Stroll could more than likely just say, well, I'm taking all my money and taking it somewhere else. That's not right. That is not right. I could be wrong. For the life of me, I could be wrong. But I don't think I am. I think that is exactly what would happen. And I think it's wrong. And it's just, you see that drivers such as Esteban Ocon aren't in Formula One because Lance Stroll is. And I think that's wrong. Just wrong. I've ranted enough. I could go on for much longer, but I'm going to sort of bring it to a close here by answering the question, how bad do I think Lance Stroll is? Bad. I think he is bad. I hope he gets better. I hope I get proved wrong. I don't wish any ill will on the guy, but 3 seasons into his F1 campaign, he is not at the level he should be, and therefore that, to my mind, that makes him a bad driver. And would I say he's the worst on the grid? Quite possibly. He's not having the worst season, but I still think as a driver, I would go so far as to say he is the worst. But that is, of course, just my opinion. If you have an opinion on this matter, how bad do you think Lance Stroll is, or how not bad do you think Lance Stroll is? Please share your opinion in the comments. We love seeing it. We love a bit of debate. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed me going from, again, being quite sensible and concise to just sort of launching into him. But yeah, that's that. I'll leave it there. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And the final thing I will say for now is ta-ta and farewell.